Hi there, ATSSB friends. Let's talk about your second etude, which is on page 69 if you're following along in your artistic studies book. It is etude number 24. This is your second choice for the 2021 school year all-state audition music. The first thing that we need to talk about here is the key signature. Take a look at it. 3 flats. You guys probably don't see that very much. 3 flats, B flat, E flat, and A flat. A flat's the one that's kind of confusing you probably. A flat enharmonically is the same exact note as G sharp. This guy right here. This is the one that is in the staff. A flat. When you see A flat, it's the same thing as G sharp. Likewise, above the staff, one ledger line above, you see a high A. You're normally going to finger at thumb register 1, 2, but since it's an A flat, we're going to have to add our G finger and this little guy right here, which my friend Stacy McBurney calls the spoon key. It's really kind of cool. It looks like a little spoon back here. So this is your high A flat. These are the 2 that you need to be concerned about. So what I need you to do first is go through this and put a flat sign on every single A that you see. It's okay to mark music. You don't have to have everything in here. It's all right, because you're going to get nervous when you audition, and it's just best to have that reminder there if you need it. So find all of your A flats, get those marked. The next thing that I want to talk about is, I know the thing that's worrying you the most, and that is the whole line of octave jumps. Holy cow. I'm not gonna lie, I'm with you. I don't like octaves either. Clarinet players, we just don't like it. It's not easy for us to do that. So let's take 5 seconds to be upset about octaves. Grr, oh, grr. All right, I'm over it. We're gonna just move on. We're gonna get through these octaves. I'm about to show you how to practice these guys, okay? Because just sitting down and playing through them straight through the line, that's never gonna work. You're gonna maybe get a little better, but you're never going to be proficient at it. And trust me when I say that if you want to make all state this year, you must play these octaves and they must be perfect, and there's really no way around it. So how do we practice hard lines of fast notes? It doesn't matter if it's octaves or anything else. This is how I'm going to teach you to practice, okay? In this case, there is a little tweak because it's octaves. So let's start off with that. So look at this line. What I want you to practice first is each individual jump on its own in a slur set. I call it a slur set because it's all of the notes between a slur. And in this case, they're only 2 note slurs because we slur from one low note to an octave higher high note, okay? So the first thing we have is D and D, and then we rest, and then we have E flat, and then we're gonna stop and look at the next set, which is E natural to E natural. Stop and think about the next set, which is F to F. I'm going to do these in quarter notes, and for right now, I am on 40. My 8th note subdivision is on, so this is my foot tap. And right now, I'm going to treat each of these notes as if they're a quarter note, okay? So I'm going to play D, D, rest, look ahead, finger set, go. E flat, stop, look ahead, rest, and go. You get the idea, all right? So I'm going to play one measure with this method of practice, okay? And ready? Here's one measure. Next is E flat, ready, now. Next E natural, ready, now. Next is F natural, ready, now. So that's how we do that for the first set. Now real quick, a little aside, I should have talked about this beforehand. Did you notice the fingering that I used for E flat? It wasn't your normal thumb 1, 2 side, because that's really hard to do, to go from E flat to E flat. Especially if you're coming off the D. You're gonna have to go from D up here, down to E flat, then right there. That's too much back and forth in that right hand. So we're going to use an alternative fingering. I call it 1 and 1. So you play your E, thumb and 1, and then you add your first finger down here. It's 1 and 1, okay? It plays an E flat. It's not the prettiest E flat. It may not be that well in tune, but by the time you're going top tempo on this, you're not gonna have time to notice what it sounds like, okay? So here is a normal E flat. Here's your alternate 1 and 1 E flat. It's a little bit wonky, but it's not so bad. So start practicing using that fingering now for when you get faster. Practice what you're gonna do when you're faster. Don't learn one thing now and have to change it later. I know when I'm fast, I'm gonna have to use my 1 and 1 E flat, therefore, I'm going to practice it now while I'm slow. Okay, so I started off with quarter notes. I'm going to do that for a few times. As I get better, I'm going to increase my tempo. I did it at 40. Next I may go to 50, and then I'll move up to 60 and do the same thing. Eventually, it may go fast enough you can't jump in 10s. You may have to slow down to 5s. Whatever works for you. Just make sure that you're doing it again and again and again. What this is teaching you is muscle memory. We're training your fingers to know where to go so that you can almost zone out when you get to that line and just let your fingers do what they know how to do. So we've done our quarter notes. Now, after we've done that, we can go faster. We're going to slow back down to 40, and we're going to do the add a note method. That's what I call it. This is how I teach all of my students to practice, is by adding an extra note to a slur set. So in this case, we're going to play in groups of odd numbers. So in this measure, what I'm going to start off with is I'm going to play notes 1, 2, 3, stop and think. And instead, when I come back in of going to the next note, I'm going to start on note 3, the one I just ended on. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, stop, rest, and think. 3, 4, 5, stop, rest, and think. 5, 6, 7, stop, rest, and think. 7, 8, 9. Listen along. And for the sake of time, I'm going to do this in 8th notes, but you may start in quarter notes, okay? Here's one measure with a 3 group. Rest and look ahead, next 3. Rest and look ahead, next 3. Rest and look ahead, next 3. Okay, and we're going to use the same method. Do that. When you're good at it, go do it faster. When you're good at that, go do it faster. Again, again, again. You're good at that, back it down, and now let's do 5 notes in a grouping. Same thing. Here we go for 5. Ready, set, now 5 notes, go. Rest, start back on 5. Get the idea? And then as you're good at that, you get faster and faster and faster and faster, then you bring it back down, and now you're going to do maybe the whole measure. So groups of 9, but always work in odd numbers. Sometimes you'll start on, maybe you'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you'll go back and you'll go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just work in groups of odd numbers, and that's going to train your fingers. As you may have to start off doing this 1 measure at a time, measure by measure, but as you get better, you can go 2 measures, 3 measures, all 4 measures, okay? Fingering wise, as you look ahead in this line, don't forget about the A flats in the second measure of these octaves, okay? The first note in measure 39, you see G flat. That's a little foreign, you don't see that very often. And harmonically, G flat is the same as F sharp. So your first note of that measure is front finger F sharp, no thumb, nothing else, finger 1. Then you're jumping up to middle G flat F sharp, okay? So front finger to middle. And then right before measure 40, you have another opportunity to use your E flat 1 and 1 fingering, okay? And in the errata from your assignment, it also says in measure 40 to add a slowdown, add a rit at the end of that. So be very careful, use that to your advantage. Okay, so that's octaves, which I know is the part you're the most worried about, but you're gonna be okay. Let's jump down to the next line where it says a tempo. A tempo meaning back to the tempo that you started at. You slowed down just before that. It's gonna give you time to take a big breath and jump back in at your full tempo. Okay, look at measure 44. Measure 44. So coming out of measure 43, you have D, E flat, D, E flat, right? From here, you have to go to B natural. Well, a lot of you have been taught, this is what I normally teach, is that B natural takes 2 pinkies, right? It takes left and right, 2 pinky B. Here's a wonderful trick. This guy down here, you don't really have to have that to play B. We just teach you that to make it going to the next note easier and less likely to blip. So you're going to play D, E flat, D, E flat, switch to B with your left pinky only, then you're going to go to the C, B, C that you know and love. So don't let that trick you up. It may look a little weird, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be just fine. Look at the very bottom line and notice that there are some staccatos there. Let's talk style for just a moment. One of my biggest pet peeves is when you ask someone, what does a staccato marking mean? And their answer is, you play it short. No, it's not short. It's separated, okay? But really, if we're getting technical, it just means you give it half of its value. I don't want you to focus too much on playing too short. If you do, especially as you get faster, if you play too short, a lot of times your tongue's gonna kind of freeze up and get stuck and you may slow down or get that weird blippy thing where your tongue does one thing and your fingers do another and it just sounds all weird. So don't actually tell yourself, I've got to play this really short. No, just put some space between your notes. You're gonna be just fine, okay? Great. The rest of this etude is really nothing that you can't figure out on your own without me. Oh, there is one more thing that I saw. Bonus for getting all the way through this. If you will look in measure 36, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th note is C flat, okay? That's one of those trick question kind of things. C flat is the same thing as B natural, okay? So you're going to play G, E flat, B flat, G, E flat, and then you got to go to B natural. This may be an opportunity. You might want to consider using 1 and 1 E flat there so that you can get to your B, or you may be able to just do that one since it's just one movement. You may be fine using your regular E flat, but just make sure that your C flat is a 2 pinky B natural or a bottom outside B natural, okay? Learn to love this B natural more, by the way. This guy's really awesome. He's really fun. Get to know him. Okay, that's all that I have for you guys on this etude. I wish you well. And I hope everything goes well for you this year, despite all this COVID craziness. Who knows what's gonna happen. As you learn, as you practice, be kind to yourself when you make mistakes. I certainly make my fair share of mistakes, and you've probably heard a couple of them in this video and the last one. And it's okay. You're gonna make mistakes. That's part of living life. So be kind to yourself, be kind to others, be wonderful, be awesome. And I can't wait to see you again soon. Bye-bye, everybody.